That's sort of the exceptional experience. Let's go back. When you were flying the first part of that tour, when you're flying the 23s, what kind of missions did you have?
Mission stayed the same all the way through. The group had a table of organization equipment, TONE, that prior to about 6 months or so before I got there, they had had fixed wings, L-19 bird dogs, which was common for artillery units to have fixed wings. And they switched them over to helicopters. And they were authorized 2 aircraft, 2 pilots, 2 mechanics, and 2 toolboxes per battalion. And group was authorized 4. And they put them all together and decided they had an aviation company. Now that sounds nice, but we don't have anybody to run operations. We don't have the radio to run the airfield. We don't have a whole bunch of stuff. So we were this kind of put together, you know, war's a come as you are affair. Everybody's got an idea of how it ought to be fought, and everybody's got this great idea of how many men ought to be in a platoon. But you fight, you go to war with what you have. So they had the 23s and the OH-6s that were here because the bird dogs were gone. And OH-23, you straddle the instrument panel, and there's a place for a person here and a person here. And that's fine. If I'm flying the commander out and he wants to go inspect someplace, I got the commander. He wants to bring somebody with him, that's fine. He can come with me. If I'm flying the chaplains, there's 2 chaplains. If I'm flying, U.S. OSHO usually went in the OH-6s or the Hueys. We we submitted up above somewhere, and we requisitioned 1 Huey, and usually 1, 2, rare day we might have 3 heavy lift aircraft, flying cranes or Chinooks, because we had some bases that were so isolated, like Fire Base 6. They brought in a bulldozer, leveled off the top of the mountain, brought in the barbed wire and put in the perimeter, built the bunkers there, and we literally landed on a bunker. There was an H in sandbags put on top of this bunker. You landed on top of the bunker at Fire Base 6. There was no gate, there was no there was no road coming in there, there was no paths going out of there. It was just there. So everything they had went in and out by air. So there would be a water tanker at the end of our field. They'd pick up that water trailer and carry it out to Fire Base 6. We had a lot of stuff went out by air. Of course, Vietnam, one of the trouble the French made is they limited themselves to the road, and the Viet Cong took control of everything else. The jungle, the small villages, everything. And then during the monsoon season, a lot of those roads were totally impassable. So the helicopter became airborne, like I said, airborne truck. And I was flying the light pickup. And they'd put in that 23 whatever they wanted to go. There were times when all I carried was mail bags and carried mail out to these bases. And I'd go to this base and drop off a bag, and I'd go to this base and drop off a bag. I might take the, Doc might go out there and check the mess hall. If they didn't have a mess hall, he might go out there and check their water. He might go out and check where the latrines are and how things looked, and just do a sick call out there, just see how things are in general. There were all kinds of things that had to go, such as people that had to repair a gun because guns malfunction, the recoil mechanisms on them are hydraulic, they fail. The 175s were notorious. They were a high velocity long barrel gun. They only fired so many rounds, barrels had to be replaced. So all that stuff got out there and got back by aircraft. So 23s, they got utilized. I might go out by myself and register a gun battery. Technically, a gun ought to fire from here to there and hit a certain spot, and they know by math that ought to do that. But that's theoretical, and in a real world, it doesn't do that. So you'd have to register the gun battery every so often, and you'd have a known point, and they'd shoot at it, and I'd correct the artillery till they hit it. And then they could make a correction for barrel wear and for weather and for who knows what all with their slide rules and computers to figure out exactly what they're going to fire. So then the next rounds were accurate. So ever so often, the guns had to be registered, and I'd go out and do that. And I do that by myself. Well, yes and no. Our crew chiefs didn't fly. Now, if I was flying a Huey, your crew chief was your door gunner. But we didn't have the space for them. So our crew chiefs didn't generally fly. So if I was going out to register a gun battery, I'd tell my crew chief, you want to go? Yep. And those light aircraft had dual controls. We usually took them out. He'd put them in, and I'd let them have some stick time and try and fly it. And you let them call the base and use the radio and learn the radio procedures. And you never know. I may go out sometime and be covering a convoy with the crew chief, and I may get shot up, and he may have to fly it back. So while we weren't supposed to, we did.